thank you so much for joining me. My name is Jenny Allen, and before we get started with today's video, please make sure that you are subscribed, that you thumbs up this video, and you check the description box below because I have lots of information there. So for today's video, we're going to be continuing looking at the names of God, and today we're going to be looking at the name of God that is Jehovah Jireh. Jehovah Jireh. I'm sure that most of us have heard that name of God, and that name comes from Genesis chapter 22 verses 1 to 14. Genesis 22 1 to 14. So I've got it opened up here, and Genesis 22 verses 1 to 14 tells the story where God tells Abraham to sacrifice his only son, because it was through Isaac that Abraham will be known as the father of nations. And now God tells Abraham to take this child that he's waited like 100 years for, and to take him and sacrifice him unto the Lord. So I would encourage you to go and read Genesis 22 1 to 14 to get the whole gist and the understanding of the story, get the details of the story. But in verse 14, it says, "And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen." Now, Abraham goes, lays his son on the altar, and as he is about to sacrifice his son, an angel of the Lord appears and tells Abraham, "No, don't do it. There is a lamb caught in the thicket." There is a lamb caught in the thicket. And they went and got the lamb and sacrificed the lamb there. Abraham was all in to sacrifice his son. And there is not a lamb, actually, it's a ram. Verse 13 says, "And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son." And the name of that place is called Jehovah Jireh. Now, Jehovah Jireh means the Lord will provide. So if you've got your Strong's Concordance, let me get mine out here. If you've got your Strong's Concordance, you can go to the reference, because I've got my Hebrew Greek Study Bible here. The reference for Jehovah Jireh is 370. 370. So if you have your Hebrew Greek Study Bible, let me show you mine, the Exhaustive Concordance. 370. So you have got here 370, and what the original Hebrew meaning for the word for Jehovah Jireh. Now, before that, okay, let's read it first. So you've got Jehovah Jireh, you've got it written in the Greek, and then it says it's a word derived from number 3068 and 7200. Jehovah will see it. Jehovah Jireh, a symbolic name for Mount Moriah. Now, if you go to 3068, 3068 is here, and all along here and here, it's about one column in total. It gives you a complete breakdown of the word Jehovah. 3068. So if you want to study that, you can go through and it will give you a complete breakdown in the Hebrew of the word Jehovah. So let's go back. Jehovah Jireh. So God asks Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. Isaac was the promise. Can you sacrifice your promise? What has God promised you? What prayer were you praying that he answered you about? He answered your prayer and he provided that thing that has become so precious and sacrificial to you. Can you sacrifice that promise? Can you sacrifice that promise? So verses 6 to 8, you got 6, 7, 8. It talks about God providing a lamb for the sacrifice. Now, at the most crucial point of the sacrifice, God provided a ram and it was caught in the thicket. It's interesting to note that when they actually got up there and were preparing the sacrifice, and Abraham was preparing to put Isaac on the sacrifice, that they didn't see any ram. There was no ram there. And just as he was about to sacrifice his son, the angel told him to stop and look. You will see a ram has been provided. So that ram was provided for the Lord, for Abraham, as a sacrifice. And we've got to remember that when we're in a difficult place, and when we can go through many difficult things, and it's like our life, our heart, our spirit is on fire. But in the book of Romans, it talks about us being a living sacrifice, and that can be challenging. Here in Genesis chapter 22, it was talking about a physical sacrifice. But in the book of Romans, and I'll put the actual scripture on the screen, it was talking about our bodies being a spiritual sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is our reasonable service. God not only provides physical resources, but he provides spiritual resources and provisions for the challenges and the battles that we are facing. The Lord provides resources for us to be able to live. Okay, so let's go to 2 Corinthians 9, 8 to 10. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye always having all sufficiency in all things may abound to every good work. As it is written, he hath dispersed abroad, for he hath given to the poor, his righteousness remaineth forever. For he has given to the poor, his righteousness remaineth forever. So God is able to make all grace abound toward us, that we will always have all sufficiency in all things. God provides physical resources and he provides spiritual resources. He gives us these resources so that we are able to face what we are facing. The Lord provides resources for us to live. And I got this quote from Hudson Taylor, which says, God's work done God's way cannot fail to have God's provision. So when we do God's work, God's way, we have all grace to abound towards us and all sufficiency. Doing God's work, God's way, you cannot fail to have God's provision. So do things God's way. It may seem like this is going, round in circles. This is taking time. Why does everything have to be so hard for me? Why is it that, it always seems that wrong is prevailing? If we do things, we do God's work God's way, you cannot fail to have God's provision. So once you know that you are being led of the Lord to do something, the Lord will provide. He led Abraham to sacrifice his only son. God provided the ram in the thicket, and God will provide your own ram for you in your time of need. and you'll never lack. Psalms 37 verse 25 says, I have been young, now I'm old, and I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed beg bread. Let's have a look at that. Psalms 37 verse 25. I have been young, and now I'm old. Yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Because the righteous will never have to beg for bread. They will not be forsaken, because Jehovah Jireh is present to provide. And that is my encouragement to you today. The Lord is your Jehovah Jireh. If you need spiritual sufficiency, Jehovah Jireh is right there for you. If you need mental sufficiency, Jehovah Jireh is there for you. If you need physical resources, Jehovah Jireh is there for you. Okay, and I hope that this has ministered to you. Please make sure that you thumbs up this video and that you subscribe. And let me know in the comment section how this has really ministered to you. I hope this has really enlightened you and shown you that whatever you need, or whenever you need God, whatever and whomever you need God to be for you in your time of need, God will be your Jehovah Jireh. So God bless you, and I'll see you in my next video. God bless.